All right, time to get down to business with this licensing manager interview prep. You ready for this?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
We've got a whole stack of RoleCatcher resources just for you, so we're going to be using those today to help you ace that interview. I think this is a really interesting role because it really blends, those legal skills with some sharp business skills, which is a pretty powerful combo.
Yeah, it is. It's a really interesting blend of the two.
Yeah, and especially with RoleCatcher's AI, you'll have a real advantage when you're facing those automated recruiters, which can be a little tricky sometimes.
Yeah, they can be a little intimidating, but don't worry, we've got you covered.
Exactly. All right. So let's jump right into some of these interview questions from the RoleCatcher interview guide. First one, describe your experience in managing licensing agreements for a company. Seems kind of simple, but what are those interviewers really looking for there?
Well, they are looking for depth, so don't just list out your past roles. Really think about the types of companies you've worked with, the complexity of those agreements you managed, and how your actions directly impacted that company's success. How did you move the needle?
So it's about showing them you understand the bigger picture, how licensing agreements
Right.
actually drive business results, right?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Now, what about follow-up questions? What might they ask to dig a little deeper?
Well, they might ask something like, can you tell me about a time a licensing agreement went wrong? And what did you learn from that experience? Now, they're not trying to trip you up. They actually want to see how you handle those challenges and how you grow from them.
Right, yeah.
And RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice these types of behavioral questions.
That's so cool.
It's like having a little interview coach in your pocket.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How do you stay up to date on industry trends and changes in licensing regulations? So this one's all about continuous learning, right?
Absolutely. The licensing landscape is always changing. Interviewers want to see that you're proactive and you're dedicated to staying ahead of the curve.
So how do you actually demonstrate that in an interview setting?
Be specific. Mention industry publications you read, professional organizations you belong to, or conferences that you attend. And if you have certifications like the CLP, definitely highlight those.
Oh yeah, those certifications are gold. Especially the CLP really shows that you know your stuff.
Yeah.
What about follow-up questions for this one?
Well, they might ask, can you give me an example of a recent industry trend that you've incorporated into your work?
Interesting.
So be prepared to talk about something specific, like a new regulation on data privacy, or a shift in how royalties are calculated.
Got it. So it's not just learning, it's applying it to your work. And remember, RoleCatcher keeps you updated on those industry trends and regulatory changes, so you're always in the know. Okay, moving on. Can you walk me through your process for evaluating potential licensing partners? This one feels a little bit more strategic, right?
It is. It's not just about finding any partner. It's about finding the right partner who aligns with the company's goals and minimizes risks.
Right, like finding the perfect match.
Yes. So think about how you gather information. Do you research their financial stability? Do you review their track record? Are you looking for any legal red flags? Then explain your evaluation criteria. Things like reputation, market reach, production capabilities. And make sure those criteria align with the company's goals.
Okay, so it's about showing you understand the company you're interviewing with and how these licensing partnerships fit into their overall strategy.
Exactly. And a potential follow-up could be, have you ever had to decline a potential licensing partner? Why? So this gives you a chance to showcase your judgment and your ability to make those tough decisions.
Got it. All right, next question. How do you measure the success of a licensing agreement? This one feels a little data-driven.
It is. It's about moving beyond just securing the deal and really understanding the impact of that agreement on the company's performance.
So what kind of metrics should you be prepared to discuss here?
Think about the goals of the licensing agreement. Was it to increase revenue, expand into a new market, boost brand awareness, and then connect those goals to specific metrics, like royalty payments, product sales figures, or licensing fees generated?
Okay, so it's all about showing you can actually track results and prove the value of that agreement.
Right. And don't just talk about gathering data. Explain how you analyze it, how you identify trends, and use that information to optimize the agreement's performance.
So you're like a detective, but for licensing agreements.
Exactly.
Okay, next up. What is your experience in managing licensing contracts? This one seems kind of similar to that first question about managing licensing agreements. Is there a difference?
Yeah, there is. This one really zeroes in on those legal details. They want to make sure that you can handle the nuances of contract management, things like drafting and reviewing agreements, understanding those different types of contracts, and really paying close attention to all those details.
Proving you got those legal eagle skills.
Yes. Highlight your experience with different types of licensing contracts, like exclusive versus non-exclusive, or royalty-based versus flat fee. Show them that you understand the potential pitfalls and how to protect the company's interests.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to share examples of times you've actually negotiated specific clauses or amendments. It really shows that you're proactive and a strong advocate.
Okay, what about potential follow-up questions for this one?
They might ask you, can you tell me about a time you had to resolve a contract dispute?
Okay.
This is your opportunity to demonstrate your problem-solving skills and your ability to find those mutually agreeable solutions.
Makes sense. All right, next question. How do you build and maintain relationships with licensing partners? So here come those all-important people skills again.
Yes, this is where you showcase your ability to build trust and communicate effectively. Licensing is a collaborative process, so strong relationships are absolutely essential.
It's like you're a diplomat, but in the world of intellectual property.
I like that analogy.
So emphasize your communication skills, your ability to listen actively, and your understanding of your partner's needs and perspectives.
And don't forget about conflict resolution. Things don't always go smoothly, so being able to navigate those disagreements professionally is key.
Absolutely. Share an anecdote about a time you successfully navigated a tricky situation with a partner. Make them see you as someone they would want to work with.
Okay, time for a question that might make some people sweat. Describe a time when you had to negotiate a licensing agreement with a difficult partner. Ooh, this is where things get real.
Yes, this is where they're assessing your negotiation skills and your ability to stay calm under pressure.
Right.
They want to know, can you handle conflict? Can you overcome obstacles? And can you achieve favorable outcomes even when you're dealing with a tough counterpart?
Right, it's like a high-stakes game, but with contracts instead of poker chips.
Exactly. So choose a specific example that highlights those negotiation skills.
Yeah.
Walk them through the steps. You took the challenges you faced and the strategies you used to reach a successful outcome.
Okay, and make sure you emphasize the results. How did your actions actually benefit the company? And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice these tough behavioral questions and refine your answers. Okay, next question. What is your experience in managing licensing budgets? Time to talk numbers.
It is time to talk numbers. But it's about more than just balancing a spreadsheet. They want to see that you understand the financial implications of these licensing agreements and that you can make strategic decisions to maximize that ROI.
Got it. So it's connecting the dots between those budgets, those licensing agreements, and the company's overall financial goals.
Precisely. Highlight your experience in forecasting revenue and expenses, tracking spending, and making adjustments as needed.
And don't be afraid to share an example of a time when you had to make a really tough budget decision, maybe prioritizing one licensing opportunity over another, or finding some creative ways to reduce costs. Okay, last question for this section. Can you describe your experience in managing licensing agreements across multiple territories? This one sounds like it could get complicated.
It can. This is where they're assessing your ability to navigate different legal systems, different cultural norms, and different market dynamics. If you have that international licensing experience, be prepared to talk about the specific territories you've worked with, the challenges you encountered, and the strategies you used to overcome them.
Yeah, it's like you're a global licensing ambassador.
I like that.
Cool.
Share examples of how you adapted agreements to comply with local regulations, or how you navigated those cultural differences in negotiation styles. And if you've worked with international teams, definitely highlight that experience too.
Yeah, that's super valuable. All right, we covered a lot of ground, but there's still more to come. Join us in part 2, where we're going to delve into career insights from RoleCatcher's Career Guide and explore how their AI can give you that extra edge in your job search.
I'll see you there.
Sounds good.
Welcome back. So we just spent some time tackling some of those really tough interview questions.
Yeah, those were intense.
They were. But now let's shift gears a bit and explore the bigger picture of a licensing manager's career path. We're going to use insights from RoleCatcher's Career Guide to help us out here.
Oh, perfect. I always like to see the whole map laid out, you know. So RoleCatcher mentioned that there's a really high earning potential for licensing managers, which is definitely a plus. But they also say it's a super competitive field. So how do we stand out?
Yeah, you're right. It is a competitive field. But don't worry. The insights we're discussing today are going to help you stand out. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze those job descriptions to really show you which skills to highlight. So that's going to make your application even stronger.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yeah,
Work smarter, not harder. Right.
exactly.
So what does that career path actually look like?
It typically starts with an entry-level position, like a licensing assistant,
Uh,
and then it kind of progresses, to a licensing coordinator, a licensing specialist, and finally, licensing manager.
okay. I really like how RoleCatcher breaks down the responsibilities for each stage. It's super helpful to see like what skills you actually need to develop as you move up that ladder.
Yeah, and speaking of skills, the guide really emphasizes the importance of continuous learning. Staying updated on those industry trends and best practices is really crucial for success in this field.
Yeah, it's like any specialized field. Things are constantly changing. RoleCatcher even recommends some certifications to kind of boost your credibility. They mentioned the CLP, the CPVA, and the CIPM.
Yes, those are all fantastic certifications. They really demonstrate a deep understanding of licensing principles, valuation methods, and just that overall intellectual property management. They can really give you a significant edge in the job market.
Definitely. And let's not forget, RoleCatcher can help you figure out which skills to emphasize for those specific job roles, right? Their AI analyzes job descriptions and identifies those keywords and skills that employers are really looking for.
It's like having a personalized roadmap for your resume and cover letter.
Oh, I like that.
So let's dive back into some of those interview questions we left off talking about. Managing licensing agreements across multiple territories. Remember how we said that could be tricky?
Yeah, it's like navigating a global licensing maze.
Exactly. Each country has its own unique legal systems, cultural norms, and those market dynamics.
Yeah.
So if you have international licensing experience, this is your time to shine.
Yeah.
Talk about the territories you've worked with, the challenges you've faced, and the strategies you use to kind of navigate all of those complexities.
Yeah. So, for example, maybe you had to adapt an agreement to comply with those local regulations in a specific country.
Hmm.
Or maybe you had to adjust your communication style a little bit to bridge cultural differences
Mm-hmm.
during negotiations. Those are the kinds of stories that make you stand out from the crowd.
They do. And if you've collaborated with international teams or partners, definitely highlight that as well. It demonstrates your ability to work effectively across borders and those different time zones. And this is really where strong communication skills and cultural sensitivity are absolutely essential.
Totally. Okay, speaking of communication, the next question from RoleCatcher's guide is, tell me about a time you had to present complex licensing information to a non-legal audience.
Ah,
So this is all about translating that legal jargon into plain English, right?
you got it. It's about demonstrating your ability to communicate clearly and concisely with stakeholders who might not have a legal background.
Okay, so how do you approach a question like this in an interview?
Choose an example where you had to explain a complex licensing concept or agreement to someone outside of the legal department. Maybe you had to present to a team of engineers, marketing professionals, or even senior executives.
I can see how that would be challenging, like explaining quantum physics to a kindergartner.
Huh. That's a great analogy. But the key is to simplify without dumbing it down. Focus on those key points, use plain language, and really avoid any of that technical jargon. Visual aids can also be really helpful here.
Oh, okay, so like a chart or diagram to illustrate those key terms of the agreement.
Exactly. And be prepared to answer those follow-up questions. They might ask things like, how did you ensure that your audience actually understood the information? Or what strategies did you use to tailor your presentation to their specific needs?
So it's not just about delivering the information, it's about making sure it's truly understood so they can act on it. Okay, next question. Describe a situation where you had to manage competing priorities related to licensing agreements.
Yeah.
This sounds like a juggling act.
It is. Licensing managers often have multiple projects and deadlines to manage. So this question is really assessing your ability to prioritize tasks, stay organized, and handle pressure effectively.
Okay, so what's the best way to approach this type of behavioral question?
We'll start by describing a specific situation where you had to juggle competing demands related to licensing agreements. Maybe you had multiple negotiations happening at the same time, a really tight deadline for a critical agreement, or maybe some unexpected challenges popped up.
And then walk them through your process for prioritizing those tasks. Did you use a specific system or a framework? Did you delegate any tasks? Did you communicate proactively with stakeholders to manage those expectations?
Exactly. The key is to really demonstrate your ability to stay calm under pressure,
Yeah.
to make those sound decisions, and to just keep things moving forward. And as always, highlight that positive outcome. Did you successfully meet all of the deadlines? Did you achieve those desired results?
Okay, that makes sense. What about follow-up questions? What might they ask to kind of dig a little deeper?
They might ask you, how do you handle stress when you're dealing with multiple deadlines? Or what strategies do you use to stay organized and manage your workload?
Those are really good questions. They're looking for that self-awareness and your ability to manage your time
Hmm.
effectively, because nobody wants a licensing manager who's constantly frazzled
Uh-huh.
and dropping the ball right.
Exactly. And remember, RoleCatcher can help you practice these behavioral questions
Right.
and actually get feedback on those answers. Their AI can analyze your responses and suggest ways to improve your delivery and the content.
Okay. Now for a question that might make some people a little nervous. Tell me about a time you had to say no to a licensing request. This one seems tricky.
It can be. This question is really testing your ability to make tough decisions, to stand your ground, and to ultimately protect the company's best interests.
Okay. So how do you navigate this kind of situation in an interview?
Choose an example where you had to decline a licensing request that just wasn't in the best interest of the company. Maybe the terms were unfavorable, the potential partner wasn't a good fit, or the agreement could have put the company's intellectual property at risk.
Good.
Walk them through your decision-making process. Did you consult with legal counsel? Did you analyze the potential risks and benefits? Did you communicate your decision clearly and respectfully to the requester?
So even though you're saying no, you're still building bridges and maintaining those important connections.
Precisely. Diplomacy is a really key skill for licensing managers. Now, a potential follow-up question could be, what strategies do you use to maintain positive relationships, even when you have to deliver unfavorable news?
That's a good one. It shows they're looking for someone who can handle delicate situations
Yeah.
with grace and professionalism.
Oh.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. How do you stay informed about changes in intellectual property law?
Hmm.
So this one's all about keeping your legal knowledge nice and sharp.
Absolutely. Intellectual property law is constantly evolving, so licensing managers need to stay ahead of the curve.
Okay, so how do you demonstrate that you're on top of those changes during an interview?
Be specific about your resources. Do you subscribe to legal journals or newsletters? Do you attend any industry conferences or webinars? Do you belong to any professional organizations that provide updates on those legal developments?
It's all about showing them that you're actively engaged in continuing your legal education.
Exactly. And don't forget about those online resources. There are many reputable websites and blogs that provide insights into intellectual property law.
Right. And let's not forget, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze those job descriptions to show you which legal skills to highlight for specific roles. So you're ensuring your resume and cover letter stand out.
Exactly.
Okay. Next question. Describe a time you had to negotiate a licensing agreement that involved complex financial terms. This one sounds like it requires some serious financial know-how.
It does. This question is really assessing your understanding of those financial concepts related to licensing agreements, things like royalty rates, payment structures, and revenue sharing models.
Okay. So how do you approach this kind of question in an interview setting?
Choose a specific example where you negotiated a licensing agreement with some challenging financial terms. Maybe the royalty rates were really contentious, the payment structure was unusual, or there were complex revenue sharing provisions.
And then you walk them through your negotiation strategy. Did you research industry benchmarks? Did you analyze the financial implications of different scenarios? Did you use data and analytics to support your arguments?
Exactly. It's all about demonstrating your ability to think critically, analyze that financial information, and negotiate favorable terms for the company, and of course, highlight that positive outcome. Did you secure a deal that met the company's financial objectives? Did you successfully mitigate any financial risks?
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah.
It's all about showcasing those skills and experience
Hmm?
through those real-life examples and showing your ability to achieve those positive outcomes for the company.
You got it. And remember, RoleCatcher can help you practice these questions and get feedback on your answers. Their AI can analyze your responses and provide really tailored suggestions for improvement.
Okay, awesome. Now, how do you handle conflicts or disagreements that arise during licensing negotiations?
Sure.
I mean, this one's all about navigating those tricky interpersonal dynamics, right?
Yes, licensing negotiations can be really complex and involve some strong personalities. So this question is assessing your conflict resolution skills, your ability to maintain composure under pressure, and your commitment to finding those mutually agreeable solutions.
All right, so how do you demonstrate these skills effectively in an interview?
Choose an example where you faced a conflict or disagreement during a licensing negotiation. Maybe the other party was demanding unreasonable terms, there were clashes of personality, or maybe there were some misunderstandings that kind of led to some tension.
So then you walk the interviewer through your approach to resolving that conflict. Did you actively listen to the other party's perspective? Did you try to identify common ground? Did you use any specific negotiation techniques to find a compromise?
Exactly. The key is to demonstrate your ability to stay calm, to communicate effectively, and to ultimately find solutions that address the needs of all parties involved. And as always, highlight that positive outcome. Did you successfully resolve the conflict? Did you preserve the relationship with the other party?
Okay, I'm seeing a theme here. It's all about showing that you can handle those challenging situations with professionalism and that you can achieve those positive results.
You're absolutely right. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice those behavioral questions and get feedback on your responses. Their platform can actually analyze your answers and provide those tailored suggestions for improvement.
Okay,
Are you ready for another question?
bring it on.
All right. Describe a time you had to educate a licensing partner about the company's intellectual property rights. This one's all about being an advocate for your company's valuable assets.
Okay, so how would you approach this kind of question in an interview?
So choose a specific example where you had to explain the company's intellectual property
Hmm?
rights to a licensing partner who maybe wasn't fully aware of them. Perhaps the partner was using the company's trademarks incorrectly,
Hmm.
infringing on their patents, or maybe misunderstanding the scope of that licensing agreement.
And then you would walk them through the process for educating the partner? Did you provide really clear and concise explanations? Did you use visual aids or real-life examples to illustrate those concepts? Did you emphasize the importance of respecting the company's intellectual property rights?
Exactly. It's about demonstrating your knowledge of intellectual property law, your ability to communicate those complex concepts clearly, and your commitment to protecting the company's valuable assets. And of course, highlight the positive outcome of the situation. Did the partner gain a better understanding of the company's rights? Did they take steps to comply with that licensing agreement?
Okay, I see a pattern here. It's all about using those real-life examples to really showcase your skills, your knowledge, and your ability to achieve those positive results.
You got it. And RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice these questions and get feedback on your answers. Their platform can analyze those responses and provide tailored suggestions for improvement.
Awesome. Are you ready for another one?
I am.
Okay.
Tell me about a time you had to make a difficult decision regarding a licensing agreement. This one sounds like it involves some serious judgment calls.
It does. This question is assessing your ability to weigh different factors. Make those tough decisions and stand by your choices.
Okay, so how would you approach this question?
Choose an example where you faced a challenging decision related to a licensing agreement. Maybe you had to choose between two competing offers, decide whether to terminate an agreement, or navigate a complex ethical dilemma.
Okay, good. And then walk them through your decision-making process. What factors did you consider? Did you seek input from others? Did you analyze the potential risks and benefits? Did you document your rationale for the decision?
So it's about showing that you can think critically, gather information, weigh different perspectives, and make sound judgments.
Exactly. And even though the decision may have been really difficult, it's important to show that you made a conscious choice based on a thorough evaluation of that situation.
Right. And highlight the outcome. Did your decision lead to a positive result for the company? Did you learn any valuable lessons from that experience?
Good. You're really seeing the patterns here.
I am. It's all about showcasing your ability to handle those challenging situations. With professionalism, make sound decisions and achieve those positive outcomes.
You're exactly right. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice these behavioral questions and get feedback on your answers. Their platform can analyze your responses and provide tailored suggestions for improvement.
Okay. One more question for this section.
Yes. Describe a time you had to adapt a licensing agreement to address changing market conditions. This one's all about being flexible and responsive to a dynamic business environment.
Okay. So how do you approach a question like this in an interview?
Choose an example where you had to modify a licensing agreement due to shifts in the market, changes in technology, or those evolving customer needs. Maybe the original agreement became outdated, new competitors emerged, or there were unforeseen circumstances that just required some adjustments.
Okay. And then you walk them through your process for adapting that agreement. Did you conduct any market research? Did you consult with legal counsel? Did you negotiate those new terms with a licensing partner? Did you clearly communicate the rationale for those changes?
Exactly. It's about demonstrating your ability to stay informed about those industry trends, anticipate challenges, and make the necessary adjustments to make sure that the agreement remains viable and beneficial for the company. And of course, you want to highlight that positive outcome. Did the adapted agreement lead to continued success for both parties? Did it really demonstrate your flexibility and responsiveness as a licensing manager?
Okay, I'm seeing a very clear pattern here. It's all about showcasing your ability to handle those real-world challenges with professionalism, adaptability, and a focus on achieving those positive results.
You're absolutely right. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice these behavioral questions and get feedback on your answers. Their platform can analyze those responses and provide tailored suggestions for improvement.
Okay, well, I think we covered a lot of ground in this section.
hmm
From managing those international agreements to adapting to those changing market conditions, we really explored those complexities of the licensing manager role.
We did, and we emphasized the importance of using real-life examples to showcase your skills and experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's still more to come. Join us in part 3, where we're going to wrap things up with those key takeaways and our final thoughts on how RoleCatcher can really help you ace that licensing manager interview.
See you there.
All right. Welcome back to the final part of our licensing manager interview prep deep dive. We're in the home stretch now.
We are ready to finish strong.
Absolutely. I feel like we've already covered so much ground.
Yeah, we have. From navigating those tricky negotiation scenarios to really showcasing your expertise in managing those international licensing agreements, it's been a lot.
It has. And we even touched on how RoleCatcher's AI can be like a secret weapon in your job search, right? Helping you tailor your resume and practice those tough questions.
Absolutely. It's all about giving you the tools and the confidence to really shine in that interview.
For sure. So speaking of shining, let's circle back to those career insights from RoleCatcher's Career Guide. Remember, we're talking about the potential for high earnings
Yeah.
in this field, but also the fact that it is really competitive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to differentiate yourself, really highlight those unique skills and experiences that make you stand out from all the other candidates.
Yeah, and remember those valuable certifications we talked about, the COP, CPVA, and CIPM, those can really give you a leg up, right?
Absolutely. Those certifications show a deep commitment to your profession, and they can really give you a significant advantage in the job market.
Totally. Okay, before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on one more feature from RoleCatcher that I think is just brilliant.
Yeah.
Have you heard about their Get Discovered option?
Oh, yes. This is a game changer. It really flips the script on traditional job hunting.
Right.
Instead of you just applying for jobs, you create a profile that highlights your skills and
Yeah.
experience, and then employers can actually find you.
Yeah, it's like having your own personal talent agent working behind the scenes.
Exactly. It's a fantastic way to expand your reach and get noticed by those companies who are actively searching for talented licensing managers.
I love that. And don't forget, you can access many of RoleCatcher's features for free. You can create a profile, explore those career guides, and so much more.
It's a fantastic resource, whether you're just starting out in your licensing career or you're looking to advance to that next level.
Totally. All right, so as we wrap up this deep dive, let's recap some of the key takeaways for acing that licensing manager interview.
Okay, sounds good. So first and foremost, you want to be prepared to showcase your experience through compelling stories and real-life examples, and whenever possible, try to quantify those accomplishments. Did you negotiate a deal that increased revenue by 20%? Did you streamline a process that saved the company thousands of dollars? Those are the kind of details that will really make an impact.
Yes, those are the kind of results that make hiring managers sit up and take notice.
Exactly. Second, you want to demonstrate your passion for licensing. This field is constantly evolving, so show them that you're eager to learn to grow and to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, let that enthusiasm shine through.
Exactly. And finally, leverage the power of RoleCatcher's AI. Their platform can help you tailor your resume, practice answering those tough questions, and even get discovered by potential employers. It's like having a personal career coach and talent agent all rolled into one.
It really is. So with a little preparation, the right resources, and a confident attitude, you'll be well on your way to landing that dream licensing manager role.
You will. And remember, the journey of 1,000 licensing agreements begins with a single, well-prepared interview.
I love that. It's all about taking that first step and putting your best foot forward. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We're confident you've got the knowledge and the tools to really rock that interview. Until next time, happy licensing.